Hello, chemists. We are back looking at pH this time, and pH actually stands for percent hydrogen. And what we're talking about specifically is our hydrogen ion. If you remember, hydrogen atom is one positive proton orbited by one single electron. So this is very much, we see this as a reactive atom. So very often what we actually have is just a proton. And so we can represent our hydrogen as an ion, H+. Now this is important because that hydrogen ion, I like to say, is going to beg, borrow, or steal in order to try to get an complete valence shell. And so what this means is it can be very disruptive to our body chemistry. When we talk about pH of a solution, what we're talking about is how much hydrogen ion is present. And so we have a measure on our pH scale. 7.0 is what we classify as a neutral pH. And what this means, or how this is determined, is based on the dissociation that happens with pure water. So water will dissociate or separate into hydrogen ion and a hydroxide ion. And then it will go back to being together. So we can draw this as a reversible reaction, which we usually see drawn more in this format, where this kind of dual arrow represents that the reaction is reversible. If you push this reaction one way, so if we push it where we have more hydrogen ion, we can actually put hydrogen ion in brackets to represent concentration of hydrogen. I like to actually say like a high amount of hydrogen ion concentration. So if you push the reaction so you're releasing more H+, we're going to call this an solution acidic. So an acid is a molecule that is going to donate, or you can say release, hydrogen ion. Sometimes it's called a proton donor because remember, hydrogen ion is basically just a proton. So then what that means is any number between 0 and 6.99 would be considered acidic. Your smaller numbers mean you're more acidic. So smaller numbers on the scale mean you're more acidic. So this would be an example of like hydrochloric acid, which is going to dissociate completely to be H+ and chloride. This is found in your stomach acid. This is your stomach acid. And that has about a pH of 2. So this is very damaging to tissues, which is actually good for us, right? Because it breaks down a lot of pathogens that make their way into our digestive tract. Also, it helps us to digest and break down the proteins that we eat. And then our stomach has adaptations to be able to withstand this really low pH. If we push the reaction the other direction, so if instead of having a lot of hydrogen ion, we have a lot of what's called hydroxide ion, then we're going to talk about this solution as being basic, or some people like to use the term alkaline. So a base is going to, sometimes they're described as proton acceptors. Essentially, we can think of a base as something that's going to release hydroxide ion. Hydroxide ion can be just as damaging to your tissues as hydrogen ion. Example, okay, so the pH scale then goes as high as 14. So just like any number between 0 and 6.99 was considered acidic, any number between 7.1 and 14 is considered basic or alkaline. A good example here is bleach, which has a pH of about 13.5. Bleach is sodium hydroxide. So sodium hydroxide will dissociate into sodium ion and that hydroxide ion. Now these changes in pH, the scale is a logarithmic scale. So a change between 7 and 8 seems like a small change, but it's pretty significant. It's a 10 times difference between each number. So it is important to kind of keep up with that significance. When we talk about blood, I didn't put that in a very good spot. Let's put it about here. Human blood has a pH of 7.35 to 7.45. So we would consider it slightly basic because it is on that side of the scale. Paying attention to the stomach acid, the hydrochloric acid that I drew for you, and the sodium hydroxide or bleach that I drew for you. These, notice, have an arrow going in just one direction. And so these would be considered strong acids and strong bases, meaning they disassociate completely. We can have some acids and bases that are considered weak, and weak means they are reversible. So it's a more like in that equation we drew for the water, where the weak acid separates, it disassociates, but it also comes back together. So weak acid would incompletely disassociate. A weak base would incompletely disassociate. Weak acids and weak bases make great buffers. So buffer is going to temporarily store or release hydrogen ion into solution. So depending on the need. So if there's not enough H+, if it's too basic, a buffer can release hydrogen ion, which is going to bring the pH more towards the acidic side. If it's too acidic, then the buffer can trap, hold on to store the hydrogen ion, taking it more towards the basic side. So buffers prevent fluctuations in pH. So this is going to be an important part of regulating homeostasis. When we talk about examples of buffers, we should include weak acids or weak bases. And remember, your weak acid or weak base, excuse me, if you disassociate incompletely, meaning you have that reversible reaction. Okay, that's it for this video. Stay tuned for our conversation on organic molecules. And as always, take care of yourselves and each other.